The James Bond movies wouldn't be the same without the iconic Bond girls. And while there are often multiple gorgeous women in each movie, today we're taking a look at the ones who James ends up with. Join Facts First as we present every Bond girl ranked from worst to best. Christmas Time was known for her roles in movies like Wild Things and Starship Troopers. Christmas is a smart and independent character, but there's no denying she's mostly there for eye candy. Did we really need a scene where she strips down to her tank top and shorts for no reason? Plus, she ends up being the primary Bond girl in the movie, yet isn't introduced until halfway through. Aside from that, one of the biggest criticisms of the character is that Denise Richards just doesn't seem believable as a nuclear physicist. She's better known for her appearances in Playboy than science skills. Plus, her acting leaves a lot to be desired. Her delivery of lines like, "I can defuse this," falls flat. But despite these flaws, her banter with Bond can be fun at times. Plus, she does play a role in the plot and isn't just a damsel in distress. Mary Goodnight, the man with the golden gun. Next up is Mary Goodnight in The Man with the Golden Gun, played by Swedish actress Britt Ekland. She's a Bond girl with a fun and flirty personality, and she's quite smart and resourceful. Unfortunately, the filmmakers didn't really give her much to do, except for being a love interest and a bit of eye candy. Goodnight works for MI6 as a secretary, but she's also trained in field work. However, her skills are mostly ignored in the film, and she's mostly there to provide some comedic relief and to flirt with Bond. That's a shame because Ekland is a talented actress who could have brought a lot more to the character if given the chance. Still, Goodnight is a memorable Bond girl, even if her character is a bit one-dimensional. Ekland also has some great outfits and hairstyles, which makes her a style icon of the 70s. Tiffany Case, Diamonds Are Forever. Tiffany Case, played by Jill St. John, is the leading lady in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. Tiffany is a fun-loving diamond smuggler who always seems to have a trick up her sleeve. She's smart, sassy, and not afraid to speak her mind. Throughout the movie, Tiffany and Bond team up to try to uncover the mystery of the stolen diamonds, and Tiffany's wit and humor help lighten up the otherwise serious tone of the movie, though at the same time the character was much more serious and darker than the Ian Fleming novels. So many people felt the change to the character was an odd and somewhat distracting choice. One of the most memorable scenes with Tiffany is when she and Bond are in the casino and she's trying to smuggle diamonds out of the country by swallowing them. The scene is played for laughs, but Jill St. John is able to keep the tension high while still making the audience chuckle. Stacey Sutton, A View to a Kill. Stacey Sutton is in the 1985 film A View to a Kill, and she's played by Tanya Roberts. She's definitely a gorgeous Bond girl, if not a little unconvincing as a geologist. Tanya Roberts was asked to play her with a fairly girlish and young vibe, which make it harder to believe that she was a brilliant scientist. Of course, Bond is still Bond, so he does end up hooking up with her, despite the fact that he's played by Roger Moore, who was pretty dang old at this point. In fact, he was pushing 60, while Tanya was in her mid-20s, which makes the whole relationship seem a little creepy in hindsight. But hey, that's Bond for you. Along the way, Stacey and Bond get into all sorts of trouble, including an epic car chase and a showdown on top of the Golden Gate Bridge. Stacey holds her own throughout and even manages to save Bond's life at one point. Solitaire, Live and Let Die. Solitaire is a character in the James Bond film Live and Let Die, and she's played by the stunning Jane Seymour. Solitaire is a psychic who can see the future, and she works for Dr. Kananga, the main villain. Bond sets his sights on her, hoping to use her abilities to his advantage. Seymour brings a quiet intensity to the character, but as a character, she's slightly underutilized, especially since Bond woos her, but then is disinterested suddenly when he realizes her psychic powers literally disappeared after losing her virginity to him. Harsh. Plus, in seducing her, Bond ends up making her a target for Dr. Kananga. It's a role that was meant to be intriguing, but ended up being more of a plaything for Bond. Still, it's never a bad day when you get to watch Jane Seymour on screen. Holly Goodhead, Moonraker. Holly Goodhead, the NASA astronaut, who's also one of Bond's love interests in the 1979 movie Moonraker, is portrayed by the lovely Lois Chiles. Holly is not only an astronaut, but also a trained CIA agent. She's smart, witty, and can hold her own against Bond's charm and charisma. She's not just a pretty face, she's got brains too. She and Bond work together to stop the villainous Drax from using a deadly virus to wipe out all of humanity. Holly is an integral part of the mission and uses her scientific expertise to help Bond save the day. Lois Chiles does a fine job of portraying Holly as a smart, independent woman, though some critics felt her performance was slightly stiff, which is why she's lower on the list. Madeleine Swann, Spectre and No Time to Die. Next up is Madeleine Swann, played by the stunning Léa Seydoux in both Spectre and No Time to Die. Madeleine is a total boss. She's smart, brave, and a doctor to boot. But she does, it's clear she's a complex and layered character. And of course, we can't forget about her chemistry with Bond. Seydoux and Daniel Craig have a natural ease with each other. Madeleine challenges Bond in ways other Bond girls don't, and their relationship feels more real and grounded than some of his other flings. Jinx Jordan, Die Another Day. Jinx is an NSA agent working in Cuba who helps Bond on his mission in Die Another Day in 2002. Played by the stunning Halle Berry, she's a badass who can handle herself in combat and has no problem taking down bad guys. But she's not just a fighter, she's also a seductive and confident woman who knows what she wants. Halle Berry's portrayal of Jinx is both fierce and sexy, and she brings a refreshing energy to the Bond franchise. She looks stunning in her iconic orange bikini, and her chemistry with Pierce Brosnan's Bond is off the charts. One of the most memorable scenes in the movie is when Jinx emerges from the water in slow motion, referencing Ursula Andress's iconic scene in Dr. No. Strapped to her hip, emerging from the ocean like a goddess. But there's more to her than just a pretty face and killer body. Honey is resourceful, tough, and fiercely independent. She's not afraid to stand up to Bond and even saves his life at one point, using her knowledge of the island to outsmart their captors. And let's not forget her knack for sea creatures. She catches and sells them to make a living, which comes in handy when they need to escape. Andress's portrayal of Honey Ryder is equally legendary. Her Swiss accent adds an extra layer of charm to the character, and she exudes confidence and sex appeal throughout the film. Kissy Suzuki, You Only Live Twice. Now we have Kissy Suzuki, the beautiful Bond girl from the 1967 film You Only Live Twice. Played by Mie Hama, Kissy is a ninja trainee who helps Bond infiltrate a hidden lair on a remote island. But she's not just a sidekick, she's a skilled fighter and a fierce protector of her homeland. Mie Hama brings a quiet strength to Kissy that's very impressive. She's not one to boast about her abilities, but when push comes to shove, she's not afraid to take down bad guys and save the day. And she and Sean Connery's Bond had a fantastic chemistry. But Kissy isn't just there to be eye candy. She's a fully realized character with her own motivations and desires. She's determined to protect her people and her way of life, and she's not going to let anything get in her way. Cara Milvoy, The Living Daylights. Next up is Cara Milvoy, the bubbly and beautiful Bond girl from 1987's The Living Daylights, played by Miriam Diabo. Cara is a talented cellist with a heart of gold who gets caught up in a dangerous web of espionage. But despite the danger, she keeps her cool and manages to hold her own even when Bond isn't around to save her. Miriam Diabo brings a sweetness and vulnerability to Cara that's just so endearing. She's got a smile that can light up a room, and her chemistry with Timothy Dalton's Bond is perfect. Cara is a charming and likable character who's easy to root for. Miriam Diabo does a fantastic job bringing her to life, and her performance is definitely one of the highlights of The Living Daylights. Camille Montes, Quantum of Solace. Let's talk about Camille Montes, the fierce and fiery Bond girl from the 2008 film Quantum of Solace, portrayed by the talented Olga Kurylenko. Camille is a strong and independent woman who's on a mission of her own, and she doesn't need Bond to save her. In fact, she's the one doing most of the saving in this movie. She's not just a pretty face. Camille has a backstory that's just as interesting as Bond's. She's seeking revenge on the man who killed her family, and she's not going to let anyone stand in her way. Olga is perfect as Camille. She's tough, she's determined, and she's got a killer attitude. Plus, she's drop-dead gorgeous, which doesn't hurt either. Octopussy in Octopussy. Octopussy, the mysterious and alluring Bond girl from the 1983 film of the same name, played by the stunning Maud Adams. Octopussy is one of the most intriguing Bond girls out there, and not just because of her name. She's a wealthy businesswoman who runs her own circus troupe, which is just as cool as it sounds. But don't let her love of acrobatics fool you. Octopussy is one tough cookie. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty, and she's not afraid to stand up to Bond when he's being a bit too much of a playboy. Maud Adams absolutely nails the role of Octopussy. She's sultry and seductive, but she's also smart and savvy. Plus, that iconic yellow sari she wears is stunning. She's got her own agenda and isn't afraid to take risks to achieve her goals. Pam Bouvier, License to Kill. Now let's talk about Pam Bouvier, the kick-butt CIA agent and Bond girl from the 1989 film License to Kill, played by the gorgeous Carey Lowell. Pam is a total boss who can handle herself in pretty much any situation. Whether she's piloting a plane or taking down bad guys, she's always cool under pressure and ready to rock. One of the coolest things about Pam, she's not just a love interest for Bond, she's his partner in crime. She's just as involved in the plot as he is, and she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. Plus, her chemistry with Timothy Dalton's Bond is fantastic. They're equals in every way, and their banter and flirtation is both hilarious and sexy. Carey Lowell's portrayal of Pam is spot on. She's tough, smart, and sexy at the same time. Plus, that short haircut is so iconic and edgy. In a franchise sometimes known for one-dimensional Bond girls, Pam is a breath of fresh air. Pussy Galore, Goldfinger. Pussy Galore is one of the most famous Bond girls of all time, and it starts with that rather risque name. But Pussy is much more than just a funny name. She's a fierce, independent woman who doesn't take any guff. She was from the 1964 film Goldfinger and played by the lovely Honor Blackman. As a pilot and leader of her own all-female flying circus, Pussy is a force to be reckoned with. And let's talk about that infamous barn scene. You know the one. It's a little uncomfortable to watch now, but at the same time, it was a groundbreaking moment in film history. Pussy's womanhood is not something to be exploited or controlled. She owns it and uses it to her advantage, making her a truly empowered female character. Honor Blackman's portrayal of Pussy is perfection. She's confident, sexy, and that voice is like honey pouring over velvet. She is a true icon of the Bond franchise. Melina Havelock, For Your Eyes Only. Next up is Melina Havelock, the Bond girl from the 1981 film For Your Eyes Only, played by the lovely Carol Bouquet. Melina is not your average Bond girl. She's a crossbow-wielding woman out for revenge against the people who killed her parents. She's strong-willed and fiercely independent, but she also has a soft side and a vulnerability that makes her all the more endearing. And let's not forget about her killer style. The red jumpsuit she wears while taking down bad guys is iconic and totally fierce. Carol Bouquet's portrayal of Melina is spot on. She brings a raw intensity to the character, making us feel her pain and anger as she seeks revenge. Bouquet and Roger Moore have playful banter, and their steamy moments are some of the highlights of the film. But what really sets Melina apart is her incredible action scenes. From taking down bad guys with her crossbow to chasing villains on skis, she's a force to be reckoned with and shows she can hold her own in the world of Bond. Domino, Thunderball. Next, let's talk about Domino, the sizzling Bond girl from the 1965 movie Thunderball, played by the stunning Claudine Auger. Domino is a total bombshell, with a sultry French accent to boot. She's the mistress of main villain Emilio Largo, but don't let that fool you. She's got a heart of gold and a strong will to do what's right, plus a killer fashion sense. Those high-waisted bikini bottoms and matching crop top are iconic, and we can thank Claudine for bringing them to life on screen. And she's got great chemistry with Bond. Their flirtatious banter and steamy kisses are enough to make anyone swoon. Plus, Claudine's performance is just as captivating. Her acting chops are on full display in the emotional final showdown between Bond and Largo, where she proves to be a key player in saving the day. Wai Lin, Tomorrow Never Dies. Next, let's talk about Wai Lin, the character played by Michelle Yeoh in the 1997 movie Tomorrow Never Dies. Wai Lin is a secret agent from China who teams up with Bond to take down the villainous when it comes to being clever. And of course, we can't forget about Michelle Yeoh's amazing portrayal of Wai Lin. Yeoh herself is a total pro. She's a trained martial artist and even performed many of her own stunts in the movie. She brings such a cool and confident vibe to the character, and her chemistry with Pierce Brosnan's Bond is off the charts. Michelle was truly everything, everywhere, all at once with this role. Natalya Simonova, Goldeneye. Natalya Simonova stars in 1995's Goldeneye and is ostensibly the first nerdy Bond girl, and we love her for it. She's a Russian computer programmer who gets caught up in a scheme to use a stolen satellite weapon to trigger a global financial collapse. Natalya was played by the Polish-Swedish actress Izabela Skorupko, who delivered an exceptional performance. Natalya is smart, self-reliant, and resourceful, and she challenges Bond in a number of ways. Izabela played Natalya with determination and tenacity, but a subtlety that made her easy to watch. As such, she meshes well with Pierce Brosnan's Bond character. Her ultimate confrontation with the villain is one of the most memorable moments in the Bond franchise, and Skorupko's performance is powerful and intense. Anya Amasova, the spy who loved me. Anya Amasova, also known by her code name Agent XXX, is a central character in the 1977 film The Spy Who Loved Me. She's a Soviet KGB agent sent to investigate the theft of a nuclear submarine. Barbara Bach delivered a captivating and memorable performance in the role. Anya is a multi-dimensional character, displaying intelligence, independence, and skill. Plus, she challenges Bond intellectually and physically. Throughout the film, Anya's loyalties are divided between her mission and her growing feelings for Bond. Barbara Bach infused Anya with a sense of determination and professionalism. Her performance is understated but highly effective, and she plays off Roger Moore's Bond with a natural ease. The chemistry between Bach and Moore is palpable and adds a genuine sense of emotion and depth to their scenes together. Vesper Lynd, Casino Royale. Vesper Lynd sits at number 2 on our list as an enigmatic and gorgeous woman in 2006's Casino Royale. Vesper is sent to assist Bond in a high-stakes poker game against a terrorist financier. She was portrayed by French actress Eva Green, who delivered a captivating and unforgettable performance. Vesper is a multi-dimensional character who's different from the typical Bond girl archetype. She's intelligent, independent, and she challenges Bond. Eva Green's portrayal of Vesper is stunning and nuanced, and she brings a depth and complexity to the character that elevates her above the typical Bond girl role. The chemistry between Green and Daniel Craig, who played Bond in the film, is palpable and adds a genuine sense of emotion and depth to their scenes together. Vesper's tragic death at the end of the film is one of the most memorable moments in the Bond franchise, and Green's portrayal of her final moments is heart-wrenching and powerful. Tracy DiVincenzo on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Tracy DiVincenzo is at the top spot on our list, perhaps because she's more than just a love interest for Bond. She's a strong and capable woman who proves herself to be a valuable ally in his fight against evil. Tracy, played masterfully by Diana Rigg, is a central character in the 1969 film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. She's a strong-willed and independent woman who captures Bond's heart, pivotal role in the film's plot. Tracy is first introduced to Bond at a casino in Portugal, where she's gambling and losing heavily. As the film progresses, Tracy's role becomes more significant, and she proves to be a valuable asset to Bond's mission, even saving his life at one point. In the film's dramatic climax, Bond and Tracy finally tie the knot, but their happiness is short-lived. Tragically, just moments after their wedding, Tracy is shot and killed by Blofeld's henchwoman, Irma Bunt. Rigg's performance as Tracy is nuanced and layered, and she brings a depth and complexity to the character that elevates her above the typical Bond girl role. Tracy's tragic death at the end of the film is one of the most memorable moments in the Bond franchise, and Rigg's portrayal of her final moments is heart-wrenching and powerful. Now it's time to hear from you. Who's your favorite all-time Bond girl? Let us know in the comments section below.